Jackie Chan is one of the only people alive who can say this with a straight face. He's been hit by cars, smashed around by Bruce Lee, and clipped by a helicopter. And somehow, those are not the moments that almost ended him. For decades, Jackie lived by a rule that sounds like a bad joke. If you're not going to the hospital, you're not really injured. To him, pain wasn't a warning sign, it was just part of the job. But the more he tried to outdo himself, the more his life turned into a tug-of-war between legendary stunts and total self-destruction. To understand how he got there, you have to start before the fame, before Hollywood, before the bloopers at the end of his movies. You have to start with a kid who almost got sold. Jackie was born into a family so poor that for a moment, his parents considered handing their baby over to a foreign doctor just to survive. Instead, they sent him to an opera school in Hong Kong. From the outside, it sounded artistic. Inside, it felt closer to a prison camp. He woke up before dawn, ran with cups of water balanced in his hands, and got whipped if even a drop spilled. He held painful stretches until muscles shook. He repeated flips, kicks, and falls until bruises became background noise. There was no talk of dreams or careers, just routine, discipline, and the constant message, if you can still move, you can still train. That training turned him into a human rubber band, and eventually, into one of the tiny faces buried in the background of Hong Kong movies. At 18, he landed the role that would change his life. Even though you barely see his face, he gets beaten to a pulp by Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon for $1 a day. Imagine that. The guy the whole world worships is pounding you into the ground on camera, and your paycheck couldn't even buy you lunch. Jackie adored Bruce, called him a superhero. But a strange thing happened when Bruce died. Everyone suddenly wanted Jackie to be him. Directors forced him into roles where he had to copy Bruce's stance, his serious expression, his sharp, precise movements. It felt like watching a tribute act who hated the song. Those films flopped. Jackie realized he could never win as a discount Bruce Lee, so he did something radical. He decided to become the opposite. Instead of standing tall and invincible, he leaned into being clumsy and human. Instead of clean, deadly strikes, he turned fights into chaotic puzzles. He fought with chairs, fans, clothes racks, whatever he could grab. He slipped, panicked, improvised. He turned martial arts from a stoic performance into a desperate, problem-solving game where everything in the room was a weapon. By 20, he wasn't just starring in fights, he was designing them. He worked out ways to yank people off their feet with hidden wires, created breakable pots that exploded on impact, and crafted special shoes that popped on contact but didn't really hurt. The timing became insane. Every second mattered. If anyone missed a beat, someone could end up unconscious. Then he started experimenting with the one thing that would define his entire career: falls. In Project A, he created a stunt inspired by silent film icons, where his character hangs from a clock tower high above the street. In the old films, there were safety nets and tricks. Jackie had none of that. No bags, no wires, no rehearsal. Just a 60-foot drop and some fabric awnings. 30 years old and full of dust. He let go. The first time, the awnings flipped him, and he landed on his neck. The second time, his body twisted in midair and he ate the ground again. The third time was even worse. Every single take ended with Jackie slamming his head. The result? A serious neck injury and a voice in the back of his mind that quietly whispered, that could have been it. But it didn't stop him. He followed it with Police Story, the movie that pushed his body into truly reckless territory. In the final scene, his character chases criminals through a shopping mall. First stunt, he jumps from a balcony through a decorative structure, smashes through the glass, lands, gets patched up, and gets ready for something much worse. He climbs 5 stories up and looks down at a metal pole wrapped in working Christmas lights. No mats, no harness that will save him if he slips. The lights are powered straight from the building's electricity. If something goes wrong, he doesn't just fall. He risks getting shocked and burned on the way down. He takes a breath and slides. You can see the bulbs exploding as he drops. You can almost feel the glass digging into his hands as he desperately grips the pole. When he hits the ground, he crashes through more glass and crashes onto the display below. The shot is so dangerous they film it once with 12 cameras and call it a day. He walks away with burns on his arms, a bruised spine, and a new legend attached to his name. By this point, no insurance company would touch him or his crew. Jackie and his stunt team were officially uninsurable. And that was exactly when things got even more extreme. Fans loved the idea that Jackie did all his own stunts. Late night hosts would lean in and ask the question everyone had. Is it really you in every scene? Jackie leaned right back into the myth. He knew audiences bought tickets to see him, not some anonymous double. But behind the scenes, it was more complicated, and honestly, more impressive. Jackie built one of the largest stunt teams in the world. Dozens of specialists trained every day, not knowing when or if they'd be called. His attitude was simple. If you're a student, your exam is a piece of paper. If you're in his stunt team, your exam is a moving bus, a glass window, or a 2-story fall to concrete. Sometimes they passed, sometimes they misjudged. In one famous sequence, he used a metal umbrella to hook onto a moving bus. When he loses his grip, he tumbles down a steep hill and sprints after the vehicle, trying to catch it again. That part worked. The real disaster happened when his stuntmen were supposed to be flung out of the bus's windows and hit a parked car in a precise pattern. The timing failed. Instead of landing where planned, they slammed head first into the road. These weren't accidents you walk off. These were the kind of hits that changed how you move for the rest of your life. Jackie himself wasn't spared. One of the worst days of his career happened on the set of Armor of God. The scene was simple on paper. His character steals an artifact and ends up chased by a group of tribesmen. He runs, flips off a wall, and jumps to grab a tree branch. He'd been drinking beer for another scene earlier, doing take after take to get the foam just right. Whether it dulled his reflexes or not, the jump was real. The first take worked. He grabbed the branch, swung, landed, and survived. Most actors would have stopped there. Jackie wanted it cleaner, bigger, so he went again. This time, the branch snapped. He plummeted, smacked into rocks, and hit the ground so hard his skull cracked. Surgeons later had to operate, leaving a permanent hole in his head. Years afterward, he'd let talk show hosts poke at the dent and laugh about it. But that day, there was nothing funny about it. He was close, much closer than he admitted to never waking up. After that, he promised more safety. Sometimes he kept that promise. He measured bungee ropes down to the centimeter, making sure his feet, not his skull, would meet the ground first. When he crawled across burning coals, he wore flame-retardant pants and hid ice packs under his clothes so he would only walk away with minor burns, even after multiple takes. But habits this deep don't disappear overnight. On the sequel to Armor of God, he performed a stunt where he had to catch a swinging chain and ride it across a gap. In one take, he lost his grip and came down chest first onto rock. The impact snapped his sternum. Breathing became agony. Laughing was impossible. The pain was the kind that makes even Jackie Chan stare at the ceiling and think, was this one worth it? Then came the helicopter. For Super Cop, Jackie designed a sequence where he hangs from a rope ladder under a helicopter, gets dragged through the air, crashes through a billboard, nearly hits a moving train, and pulls himself up higher to avoid disaster. It was supposed to be chaos under control. It wasn't. As the helicopter moved, the timing slipped. The ladder swung. Jackie collided with the billboard and then with the machine itself. On impact, he fractured ribs, shattered part of his shoulder, and dislocated his cheekbone. He hung there, broken and barely conscious, until his team got him loose. Most people get hit by a helicopter once in a lifetime, and that's the end of their story. For Jackie, it became another entry on a long list of almosts. While all of this was happening, Jackie was obsessed with cracking Hollywood. Hong Kong loved him. Asia treated him like royalty. But the American industry was a different beast. On Battle Creek Brawl, the director didn't care about Jackie's style. The timing was off. The fights looked generic, and the movie vanished from theaters. On The Protector, another director flat out said he didn't want a Jackie Chan movie. Jackie was forced into a straightforward Western-style action film that ignored everything that made his work special. Both films failed to make an impact. Jackie went back to Hong Kong, bruised in more ways than one. So he did what he always did. He made more Hong Kong films. Bigger, riskier, more outrageous. And then, almost out of nowhere, Rumble in the Bronx hit American theaters. It wasn't a massive studio film. The dubbing was rough. The scenery didn't quite match the title, but the stunts were undeniable. There's a moment where he leaps from a building to a moving platform with no wires, no safety net. That jump and the energy around it lit up American audiences. Suddenly, Jackie Chan wasn't just a VHS secret. He was a star. Then came Rush Hour. For the first time in Hollywood, Jackie had a director who trusted his timing. He brought his own crew, his own rhythm, his own way of turning a fight into a joke that could still put you in the hospital. Paired with Chris Tucker's non-stop talking, Jackie became an international household name. That wave carried him into even more ambitious projects, including Chinese Zodiac, where he did so much himself that he ended up holding the world records for most stunts by a living actor, and for having the most well credits on a single film. But while his career was peaking, his private life was just as chaotic as any action sequence, only without the blooper reel to soften the blow. In his memoir, Jackie talks openly about the years when fame went straight to his head. He blew money on luxury cars, crashed them, replaced them, and crashed the replacements. He gambled, drank, and treated nightlife like it would never end. He showed up to sets late, hungover, and still expected everyone to revolve around him. He was married to actress Joan Lynn and had a son, but that didn't stop him from having an affair with another actress, Elaine Ng, which resulted in a daughter. When the scandal broke, he held a press conference, admitted he'd messed up, and called it a mistake many men make. The public moved on, his family didn't. Years later, his daughter appeared in an online video saying she'd been homeless and claiming she'd been abandoned because of who she loved. The clip went viral. Jackie's response was distant. He said he hoped she was happy, and that was it. No big reconciliation, no dramatic reunion on a talk show, just silence where a father should have been. It wasn't the first time abandonment showed up in his story. His own parents had come close to giving him away. They had dropped him in that brutal school and left for another country. Jackie grew up learning that you fight, you work, you bleed, but you don't talk about feelings. So he repeated what he knew. There's another moment that hints at how much guilt he carries. When his son was later arrested in a high-profile drug case, Jackie, who had been a public anti-drug ambassador, had to stand in front of the cameras and apologize. Not as an action star, but as a father who had failed to set the example he preached. Eventually, even he admitted the obvious. Time was winning. During the promotion of Chinese Zodiac, Jackie said something fans never expected. He told them that one day he would have to use more stunt doubles. One day he'd be too old to jump out of windows and crash into buses. He asked the audience to forgive him in advance. Then, in 2016, he finally got the thing he'd secretly wanted since he first saw it in someone else's house: an Oscar. Not for one film, not for a specific role, for the entire insane, painful, brilliant body of work he built by treating his own body like an expendable prop. On stage, he joked, thanked his fans, thanked his stunt team, thanked his family. But buried inside that speech was a quiet truth. Every scar, every broken bone, every late apology, every messed up relationship, all of it was the cost of keeping us entertained. Jackie Chan's story isn't just about a guy who does his own stunts. It's about someone who grew up believing pain was normal, turned that pain into art, and then realized, too late in some areas, that people don't heal as easily as bones. He got the fame, he got the records, he got the Oscar. The question that hangs in the air long after the credits roll is simple. How much of Jackie Chan had to break so the legend could survive?